Democracy and family foundations is not an academic issue. This is an issue, regardless of what's going to happen in the elections, that we're going to be faced with challenges, opportunities, and real political turmoil. As one political figure told me, Lance, you're fat cows in a resource-scarce environment. And being fat cows in a resource-scarce environment, we're going to be a target for a lot of issues, and that's going to bring up these questions that we're going to be discussing today. So they're not academic. They come from the left, as the legislation that was proposed in California about keeping track of who we give our grant monies to, minority organizations. It comes from the right, with an AG in one Midwestern state essentially saying we'll investigate you unless you give money to where we want you to give. It comes from the center, where powerful people on congressional committees say, we want you to give more money to this cause and we're watching. These resources are going to be under demand, and we have a duty and a responsibility to define what our role is in a democracy and how we enhance that democratic role and enhance that democracy. You know, one of the criticisms of family philanthropy is it's really an elitist approach, and that it's one of the last bastions of aristocracy. The boards are determined by genetics, not necessarily merit. And unfortunately, genetics regress towards the mean over time.
Say, with respect to the aristocratic issue, it's there. It's real. And people do inherit resources. Our economic model provides for that. And so the question is, how do you make the best of it? Not whether you approve of it or not, because what are you going to do about it? So my answer would be, first, it's there. It's real. But secondly, then what are you going to do about it? And that's where, from my immersion in history, and I would be a mistake to call me a historian, I think, but I'm immersed in history and live it every day in Williamsburg. I think a critical factor which is part of making the best of it has to do with citizenship. And we now are focusing on that subject as our mantra at Williamsburg, in fact. And it seems to me that if you argue that citizen participation was absolutely essential to bring about the American Revolution, citizen participation was essential to win the revolution, and citizen participation is essential to sustain the democratic experiment, then what you start looking for is the vehicles for achieving citizen participation. And for those people fortunate enough to have the resources to set up a philanthropy, a family philanthropy, they have the opportunity, and as Richard Rockefeller, I think, put it very well last night, the obligation to find a way to help sustain the democratic experiment through citizenship. And so that's where I come with that.
I might also say that it seems to me that the shortcomings of the political process for allocating resources are pretty apparent. And I don't think generalizing those into the entire realm of society to solve social problems is a clear answer. One thing that caught my eye recently was the case in Minnesota, where the judge ruled that they were going to take away the tax-free status for some nonprofit in the state because they weren't providing, I think it was a pure public charity. I forget what the exact language was. And the way they were judging that is whether their rationale was, well, there's tax money foregone here, therefore there should be some kind of quid pro quo that is provided by the charitable entity. And my view is that's exactly wrong. We should not be trying to correlate some kind of measurable public benefit vis-a-vis the benefit we provide. Now, it is true there is an obligation to work in the public interest, but that's very different from trying to say this increment of grant funding is worth a certain amount of increment of displaced public money. So I think trying to translate accountability into those narrow kind of metric terms is really the wrong track to go down. I think the broader track of openness, transparency, critique, justifying ourselves, being clear about what it is we're, in this field of philanthropy and family philanthropy, trying to accomplish, and being able to understand and justify that is what takes us an important step toward down the accountability road. We accept the deductibility of home mortgages, not because somebody's run out, and I suppose some economists may have, but not that I know of, run out and done an economic analysis of exactly why deducting home mortgages is good for the economy. It's basically we believe in home ownership in this society, and that's why we say there are reasons why in the tax code you have special benefits for certain kinds of things because you think that's an important activity, not because you've done some measurement of exactly what they're producing for the
This is the crucial question. What is the role of foundations within a democratic society? And to me, we are the only institutions within the society that are essentially unaccountable. And that's our strength. We're accountable for, not to be corrupt or to be self-interested or, to take advantage of that public stewardship. All those rules we should be, enforced. But not necessarily, we should be transparent about our results, but not, the results shouldn't be required. The fact of the matter is because we don't have to get votes, because we don't have to earn a profit, because we don't have to raise money, that allows us to be risk-taking and innovative. It's a possibility. It doesn't necessarily happen, but it's a possibility. And it's the only institution in the society then that can address unpopular issues and that we could address particular failures. We have theoretical failures of government. We know that vested interests can become entrenched because the general interest is amorphous and the transaction costs of putting it together are difficult. We know that markets fail. We have theories about it, externalities, public goods, deals with distribution. We know when societies fail because of transaction cost issues of people getting together, and that some of the most powerless in the society have a more difficult time in organizing. All those things are roles that we can play within those interstices that really leverage what we do. So we actually, I think, agreeing with my co-panelists here, we actually can enhance democracy because we can be that innovative, risk-taking institution. As economists and stuff are telling us now, 90% of economic growth is accumulated knowledge. That's really social knowledge and social wealth that we own. And where we got that we own everything we earn, every one of us had investments put into us by the society, scholarships, whatever, subsidies, and all that. The issue is, and I think that's the power of philanthropy, it's kind of the private recognition of that social wealth concept of where this money and where the things came from. So inheritance taxes are incredibly important. And the exemptions to inheritance tax for setting up foundations, I think, is one way of recognizing that social wealth, while also incorporating the possibilities of using private initiative to address, societal issues of being risk-taking and innovative. To remove, not to even mention sociologically, and allow these kind of oligopolies of wealth to center where they never lessen and where there is no public purpose to that, I think is just it just undermines and subverts the social cohesion of the society, and we will pay a price. And historically, that has always resulted in guillotines. It has always resulted, or their like. And so there's a kind of self-interested aspect to this too.